It's an absolute joy to be here today, and it is a joy to follow the wonderful Carl and the wonderful Jim. I don't think there has ever been a more exciting moment in careers education. I couldn't put it any more clearly than Jim has already done why careers education matters so much. The changing world of work, Brexit's going to make massive changes to the way that we recruit. There are so many reasons why careers education matters, and it matters more today than ever before. What I think is really changing is that careers education now has a grip, and things are changing in schools, in communities, in businesses, and we see it every day. We were with Andy Burnham in Manchester yesterday, talking to the schools across Greater Manchester, and they were saying to him, we want more businesses here helping us. That's what we want, Mayor. Will you help us with that? How motivating is that? And how actually countercultural for what many people think schools are focused on. The change is happening, and the change is really happening now. So why is that? I think the first reason is that we now have a clear blueprint for what good looks like in terms of careers education. Quick show of hands, who here has heard of the Gatsby Benchmarks? It's a low-risk question to ask this audience. Exactly, everybody has heard of the Gatsby Benchmarks. We now know what good looks like, and this gives everybody a place to start in terms of collaborating around good careers education. This is a picture of how the country has been doing on Gatsby. This is from last year, and we're going to be bringing out a new version of this in November, which is the most recent year. And the bright blue are the percentage of schools that have achieved a given benchmark. Dark red have partially achieved a benchmark, and purple have not achieved it. And what you see is that there's miles still to go. But that's great, because now we can actually start to track that progress. We can see in different areas which of these benchmarks are easier to deliver. Are some geographies finding it easier? Are some benchmarks easier? And we can actually just start to invest resources, focus, attention in the areas where progress is more challenging. It's completely operationalizable now that we've got this clear vision of what good looks like, and schools and colleges are diagnosing their own progress. But the other reason I think that things are really happening is that we have a way of delivering Gatsby. And we were delighted by the career strategy that came out in December of last year, because it essentially established what Carl says is a completely sensible approach to careers education. I wouldn't use any other word, just incredibly sensible. We have a definition of what good looks like in the Gatsby benchmarks. We're now saying that every school and college needs a person responsible for delivering the Gatsby benchmarks. That's what any business would say about anything they were trying to do. Who's in charge? That person needs to be on the SLT, reporting into the SLT, connected to the head teacher, because guess what? Leadership really, really matters. And then we need support around schools and colleges, because Gatsby is all about bringing external influences into schools. So we need coordination around schools and colleges to bring some of those influences into schools and bring some of that inspiration to young people. Just eminently sensible. And that's why we were so excited that the career strategy got published. And as Carl said, actually in the last couple of days, the government has put additional support behind this. Because specifically on the careers leaders, we were given 500 bursaries for schools and colleges to bid for to get free training for their careers leaders. And there was a big debate how many schools would be interested in this, what would happen, and in reality, we were massively oversubscribed. And the government said, we'll meet demand. And that is so exciting to me. And that is exactly what happened in Manchester yesterday, which is that people say, well, but schools, are they interested? Do they care? And schools have said, yes, we care. We absolutely care. We've had 1,500 schools and colleges apply for bursaries in a matter of months. That's a third of schools and colleges. Schools absolutely care, and they're showing government they care, and government is listening, because government has now tripled the number of bursaries. And local coordination, government announced 20 careers hubs, which would build on the Enterprise Advisor Network, which is all about linking schools and businesses, but broaden the remit around the whole of Gatsby. 20 hubs, and again, to bid to be in a hub, schools and colleges had to complete the Compass tool, see how they were doing on Gatsby. And there was a bit of a question, well, do schools and colleges really care about this? Will we get many bids to be hubs? Massively, massively oversubscribed, massively. And so government looked at that, and they had a choice. They were either going to say, well, actually, no, we said 20, or they're going to respond to the fact that education wants the help. And they have responded, and I'm so happy that that's happened, and that happened on Tuesday. So the government has announced more bursaries. I think they've said doubled bursaries. I shouldn't say tripled. if anyone's tweeting, double bursaries. This is how we influence government, and doubled hubs. But that is the reason for that. The reason for it is because schools and colleges have responded. And you know, everybody in this room, how much schools and colleges are calling out for support, resources, sensible policies, connections to business. That is what I see across the country. And now that noise is really coming back to Westminster, and Westminster's really thinking about how to react to it. And I think you're going to see more and more support for careers leaders, for hubs in the future. You know, when we talk to government and we say, look, think about this huge post-16 reform you're bringing in, the T-levels, the apprenticeships, you know, it's so exciting, but how is that all going to get operationalised in schools? Well, the answer is careers leaders. Careers leaders have got to be in charge of understanding, interpreting, bringing in the personal advice where it's needed, making sure the access to apprenticeship opportunities are clear to schools, to young people. It's going to sit with careers leaders. So careers leaders are going to be at the heart of delivering the government's vision for education. And that's why government, I think, is really going to back this. They're going to keep backing it. And they're going to think about how to elevate the role of the careers leader, how to support the training of the careers leader, and how to make sure that schools feel supported to make careers education a reality for all their young people. And the really exciting thing is that the results for young people are starting to show. So we launched a pilot tool over the summer called Future Skills, which took the Skills Builder framework, which many of you will also know about, which the brilliant Tom Ravenscroft has created and he'll be talking about later on. And it took a career readiness measure and it took a personal resilience measure. And it applied it to 3,000 young people who were going through some of the projects that we funded. So things like mentoring or employer engagement projects. And it asked them what the impacts of those projects had been. And this is what we found. So we found that 80% of the young people involved felt that their awareness of careers had gone up. 75% knew what they needed to do to meet their ambitions, and 70% felt more motivated to work in school and college. And those of you who do this work will know how that works, that basically making the world of work real for young people and helping young people to understand the relevance of their study increases motivation. And as well as asking them those questions, we also did some before and after analysis. So we said, how do you feel before you do the activity and how do you feel after it? And one of the measures that moved the most was, when I don't know how to do something, I keep trying until I can. That went up by 20 percentage points. And that was just based on one activity with an employer. We did it before and after based on one activity. So imagine if we were doing this for young people based on multiple exposures over the year, or multiple years of exposure. The fact that this is really showing results for young people and that we can start to measure that in the same way that we measure Gatsby will just add confidence and also enable us to really refine what we offer in terms of careers education. We can tailor what we offer to make sure that it is hitting the things that most move the measures that we care about. And so this will allow us again to drive from an evidence-led perspective towards the very best practice for our young people. I am just so encouraged to see all of you here today. I'm so grateful to you for traveling, for making the time, for making this a priority. And again, I think it confounds so many people's belief about how school and colleges think about this. I think the change is really coming, the culture change that Carl has talked about. And I think if we can stay the course, we can absolutely change outcomes for young people. So I am delighted to be here and so looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.